speaking of football, we got college football expert ESPN's own Ryan Leaf here in the studio.
There he is. What's up, man?
What's up, man? What's going on? Good to see you.
Do you think the field is going to be all right in Mexico City? Or do you think are they going to come back to LA and play the game?
Let's hope.
In a little soccer stadium,
what a fail
right?
that was, huh?
Wow.
If not, I'll be out there raking it and trying to fix it myself. Absolutely, because I want to see a game. I want to have a good time. But thank you for being here, man. And on a personal note, it's good to finally talk to you and meet you in person because we see you in the hallways at Sirius XM. And everyone's in their work zone. No one ever has a chance to say
And then we
what's up.
see you here,
Right.
and you're in your work zone. So, hey, we got you finally here.
Yeah, we get you on the couch here, talk a little college football. I mean, big weekend last weekend.
Yeah.
College football rankings are out. It's all about it right now.
You're so consumed with college football, you really don't even have time for NFL, right?
Well, I'm calling a game on Saturdays.
Right.
So I'm usually flying back Sunday morning. I try to get the earliest flight. So I land in LA around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, right when kickoff happens. So when I'm in the Uber, I have my Sunday NFL ticket, so I watch it from the airport to the house.
Yeah.
But then I come in, I hit the red zone, and me and my kiddo just run around the house playing football, hanging out with him, and I may just look up to see if the Cleveland Browns are losing or not.
Right.
And, that's about all I get a chance to do.
By the way, I read your article, Letter to My Younger Self, the Players
so
Tribune.
good,
If people have not read that, what a great way to look back on your life, and what a great story. A story of bouncing back and resilience.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to minimize it. It was a rough patch. Everybody deals with it.
Yeah.
I just happened to deal with it in a very public way, and that's just the way it goes. But I thought it was appropriate to write something like that. Just for anybody who may be coming up in a similar situation, they could kind of see what I went through, how I dealt with it in an unhealthy way, and maybe they don't make the same kind of mistakes I did. But also understand that, like, hey, this type of thing may hurt like hell, but you're going to get through it. We're going to be okay. As long as you keep getting back up, we're going to be fine.
Well, when you wrote that letter to yourself, it showed you, I imagine, how far you've come. I think if I wrote a letter to myself, I'd realize I was the same bozo then. Not much, not much has changed. So, it's really cool, man, because this broadcasting thing, you're great at it.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I have a face for radio, they say. So, I enjoy doing the radio. Steve Cohen, our friend at Sirius XM, really, gave me the best opportunity you can imagine. And what's blossomed has given me a ton of gratitude. I get to talk about college football for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, how cool is that? I was in a prison cell 5 years ago right now.
Wow.
And now I'm sitting here with you guys in L.A. I get to travel tomorrow and then down to Atlanta for a big game this weekend. So, I mean, this it couldn't be any better, and the gratitude that it fills me up with is special.
Well, let's talk some college football. Something you know a lot about. Let's take a look at this bracket here.
Yeah, biggest surprise of the top four. I know you're thinking Georgia, I heard?
Yeah, I do think I think them at 4 was absurd. They have the worst loss you can imagine. South Carolina beat them at home. South Carolina just lost to Appalachian State this weekend. They lost to North Carolina at the beginning of the year. So that for me is a position that I don't think is warranted right now. The 2 wins that they have over Florida and Notre Dame, those don't outweigh the bad loss for me. If anything, they may be one of the worst one-loss teams that are there, and I'd expect to see something different in the next couple weeks. We'll see. The committee is very interested in SEC bias, it almost feels like.
Now, Alabama, on the outside looking in, which is very rare, is there a way they find themselves in this?
Well, I said this on the radio show the other day, that when on December 8 comes, right, and they're all sitting there and they're like, okay, this is Alabama, 11-1. Their only loss is to number 1 ranked LSU. Tua was about 75%. They've never not been in the college football playoff. How do we keep them out? If they do that, it's as shady as it can come, I think.
Yeah.
A one-loss Oregon team that has won 12 straight and didn't lose one conference game deserves to be in. And if they don't get in, you have to shake it up. You have to blow it all up, because if they don't have an opportunity to play for the national championship, same with Utah.
Yeah.
Either one of those teams that get in from the Pac-12 conference, if they're one loss, if they don't get a chance to play for the national championship, you got to blow it up.
Hey, Ryan, what do you feel about a team like Minnesota, ranked number 8 now, undefeated? There's really not much more they could do. So is this a total indication that they need to expand this playoff?
No, because whatever they do the rest of the way for Minnesota, they'll get into the top 4. If they keep winning, this for them, they could be ranked 25th right now and be fine.
Yeah.
Because if they keep winning and our undefeated Big Ten champs, they're going to be in the conversation. So I've been rowing the boat since July. I picked them to win the West when no one even thought they were an afterthought, and now to see it coming true for them, I think it's pretty special. They got a difficult schedule the rest of the way through. They play Iowa this weekend at Kinnick Stadium, and then 2 weeks from there they go play Wisconsin at home, and if they win, and they win the West Division, they play probably an undefeated Ohio State team in the Big Ten Championship. So it's going to be a tough road to hoe for them the next few weeks.
You know what I think, Covino, automatically for the gamblers like myself. Do you think people look at this and say, well, these are the teams that need to win to stay in, so they may be trying to run up scores? Is that for purposes like that, possibly?
You know, I think there has to be style points, in particular with teams like Oregon, Utah. And I talked to Coach Whittingham today on my radio show, and he kind of said that, you know, that may be something we need to do, but we're not those types of guys. That's not in our DNA.
Ryan, how do you feel about the undefeated Baylor?
Yeah, I'm pretty upset with the committee here. You know how hard it is to be undefeated right now? I mean, go ask Georgia.
Right.
Go ask Oklahoma. You know, go ask Alabama. Utah, Oregon. It is hard to be undefeated. There's 5 teams, and the disrespect they're giving Baylor right now, they don't have a good loss, I guess, is what the committee thinks.
Yeah.
They don't have a loss at all.
Let me ask you this. Ryan Leaf is here on Now or Never. When you look at this committee, for the people that don't know, who makes up this committee?
Well, there's athletic directors, there's former coaches, there's former players, there's a 4-star general, who I got to pretend I was during the mock committee this year. And it's 13 individuals, but what people don't understand is ultimately it's 7. A majority rules in that room.
Okay.
So if you want to go in with an agenda, or if you want to go in and try to have a hung jury or filibuster in any way, that doesn't happen. You type something in a computer, your teams, and then an algorithm spits it out, and these are the 3 teams out of a group of 6. And 7 individuals really can determine who the top 4 teams in. So subjectively, a human being, and when it's all said and done, may go, hey, how do we keep an 11-1 Alabama team out? They're one of the best 4 teams in the country. I don't believe that to be true, but the committee has kept them in every single year, so it wouldn't surprise me if that happens.
Anyone from the Pac-12 make the playoffs?
I think if Oregon wins out, I think either one of those teams, if Utah or Oregon wins out and there's a 12-1 Pac-12 champion, yes, they deserve to be in the college football playoff.
When you see some of these power schools blowing out the lesser schools, we were talking about this in the newsroom, the expanded playoff. I mentioned that you sort of said, I don't know. Don't you think teams like a Minnesota or teams like Baylor would benefit from this? Like they're the hot underdog team that could really, that could be like a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, but I think if they keep winning, if both of those teams stay undefeated, they're in the playoff. They're not going to keep out an undefeated Big Ten or a Big 12 champion. So they're going to be in if they stay undefeated. Now, to your point, maybe if they're 1 losses, if there's a bunch of 1-loss teams, maybe there's an 8-team playoff, and then you get to experience a Minnesota playing a Clemson or a Baylor playing a Alabama or something like that.
I only think that because, like, the NFL is looking to add another wild card team. The NBA and the NHL, like 16 teams make the playoffs.
It makes it more fun, but does that make it softer? You know what I mean? Or does it just make it better?
The difference in talent from 16-1 in college is much different from 16-1 in the NFL. That's the difference for me. So I don't think it can go all the way to 16.
Yeah.
I think 8 or possibly 6 with the number 1 and number 2 teams with byes. Now, last year, I didn't necessarily feel like expansion was the way to go. I really didn't. After doing the mock committee, I think that's the only way for this to be truly successful is to have some sort of expansion.
All right, what are the games to watch this week, real quick, man? What's the one that we need to tune into?
Well, I mean, Baylor, Oklahoma, Saturday night's a biggie. Iowa and Minnesota, that's going to be very telling if Minnesota can stay on a roll for that. You got Utah versus UCLA. Surprisingly enough, UCLA controls their own destiny. They could win out and win the South Division, which would be so Pac-12 to have a UCLA team playing Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. I don't think it's going to happen. But those are some of the big games this weekend. Of course, the biggie down in the SEC, Georgia, who was just put in at 4, goes to Auburn and plays in that rivalry game. That's always a great football game. It's at Auburn. That's a big deal for that conference.
All right, man. Well, it's nice to finally talk to you. Thanks for giving us the scoop
Thank you.
on college football. Ryan Leaf.